Hi guys, welcome back. It's time for another shooting comparison heads-up shootout video. This time it's going to be between the British Vickers water-cooled machine gun and Browning's famous 1917 water-cooled machine gun. So first of all, we're going to go over just some of the minor differences, and I'm not really going to delve into the history of each specific firearm. I figure everybody is familiar enough with Google and Wikipedia that you can go look at that information on your own. It's quite involved, just don't have time to go over it here. So we're just going to go over some of the primary differences between these two designs, and then we're going to go and move into the firing differences, the setting up of the gun, which gun was really better. Might leave that choice up to y'all as far as you tell me which firearm you think wins the shootout. I'll give my opinion, and of course feel free to chime in and any comments that why you feel that maybe the one you selected is superior over the other. Alright, so let's dig into these two and find out some differences between them. Okay, some of the immediate differences that everybody notices right off is the trigger group assembly. Here on the Vickers, you have the spade grip assembly. You have a small little locking bar lever that has to be pulled up, and then the trigger depressed. Alright. Here on the Browning, you have the good old American style pistol grip assembly. This dates back actually to the 1895 model. They decided to retain it. The 1895 model wasn't devised by Browning, but by Marlin Company, and I think John Browning did see some advantages in the pistol grip assembly, especially at that time where a lot of the cavalry was still in effect in the United States forces and the Army, and everybody of course had their good old revolving cylinder 6-shooters, and this pistol grip assembly is shaped very much like that, though somewhat smaller. So he decided to retain that over going to the spade grip assembly. Later on, there was a spade grip assembly made for these just a little bit prior to World War II and used throughout World War II for various modes. But pretty much you always see it with the pistol grip assembly. And you have the single exposed trigger here underneath. There is no safety on this like there is on the Vickers. Basically, when it's cocked and loaded, you pull the trigger, you're ready to go. There is no safety feature on it. Alright, one of the next differences you're going to see immediately is the sight assembly. Okay, here on the Vickers, you actually have what's called a battleground sight. You don't have to have this bar raised up that has gradations that go all the way up for really increased long-range firing. Okay. You have actually what's called battleground sights or battlefield sights that is good to 100 yards. Here on the Browning, you have the same thing, except instead of the peep style, it's the open dovetail, and it's good as well for about 100 yards. And then of course you have, for extended long ranges, you have this one here that has the different scales on it. One thing that you're going to notice also that was really unique with the Browning is this sight assembly right here. Alright, as it's raised and lowered, you're going to see that this centerpiece here actually slides from left to right. Has a built-in windage adjustment and drift. Pretty unique, very, very complicated to learn and understand. It takes a manual to actually get something out of that as far as how it's to be used. Alright, also it throws a lot of people. On the Vickers, as opposed to the Browning. The Browning sights are dead center all the way down the water jacket to a protected hood front sight. The Vickers, they're offset to the left side of the firearm. Not really sure why that came about, because really you don't have anything exposed here in the very front or the center line of the water jacket. I think it's just a carryover design, since the Vickers was a carryover, and kind of a redesign on the patented Maxim design, and I think they just kind of retain that, but it's very, very hard to get a good site acquisition through this Peep site. So anyway, that's you do have protective ears, but it's open on the top on your front sight. Alright, another one of the main differences is that here, again, a carryover from the Maxim design, you have an external spring cover called the Fuzzy. The Fuzzy spring is basically inside here, and the gun actually works off of recoil. The Browning works off of recoil also. You have a straight spring that runs the lengthwise inside this box receiver. It connects to the back of the bolt, and here's where you would press in with a flat blade screwdriver and turn it 1/4 of a turn to lock in the spring so you can remove the pistol grip assembly. So it's much simpler. Really, as far as just setting the headspace, you really don't have to tinker a lot. On the Vickers, just like the Maxims, you have an adjustment up here on the very front that is constant, has to be maintained, and the spring settings vary actually even from ammunition to ammunition grade, and very temperamental at times, but once you do get it dialed in, it works flawlessly. Okay, to access the internals, here on the Vickers you have a small little tab back here on the back that you lift up and then actually raise, and the inside is exposed, and you can see the actual lock, which is kind of like considered the bolt. You have various other internals that are recoil plates that this actually is attached to, and it actually cycles kind of much like a camming action. Here on the Browning you have a little knob here on top that you basically just pull back and then lift the top cover up. What's unique between these two is that on this top cover here, unlike even the Maxim, you have a separate feed cover that actually lifts up and opens up to expose your feed block. Okay? Here on the Browning, the top cover exposes everything. Your trunnion, where the belt is loaded, everything, including the extractor. Okay? So it's a much simpler operation, easier to get to. Okay, then you have the ever distinctive cooling water jackets. Of course, the one on the Browning is much smaller. I believe it holds only 7 pints. Not total, but the recommended amount that you hold inside there. I believe the Vickers is 9. Of course, you do have something similar on these two. You have a, basically it's a pressure vapor tube that, here's the actual front end screws. You have little locking screws that are both similar that you undo. Take these out and draw them forward. The tube runs for the full length here inside the water jacket, and it actually helps in releasing the pressure out of the water jacket through that tube and then out through this exhaust port down here, which is similar on each one. You'll see that the Vickers has a booster or muzzle cone, whereas the Browning does not. That's another plus feature. This is something additional that you have to actually clean. Now, one thing unique about the Vickers is that this is just another item that has to be cleaned. Troops really hated this. Okay? You have to remove this here. If you can see inside here, you have a little a disc inside there. That disc is actually removable, and as it becomes fouled, you have to pull that out and either replace it or clean it. So it becomes quite fouled. Here on the very front, you'll see that there is a kind of a booster cone, and that booster cone actually helps the boost and the recoil action by trapping gases expend as the bullet exits right through here. It then hits this cup in here and helps the recoiling parts back. So it's kind of a boost assist feature, whereas the Browning, it's not needed. Of course, on both of them you have the little rubber plug that will help plug this up when the gun's being transported and not in use. Not that it was impossible, but you could actually swap out and change the barrels on these in action with water and not lose too much water out of these. You would lose some amount, but actually you would use this cork here to, as the barrel is being withdrawn, to plug it up and swap out barrels and then replace it. What's difficult about this one here on the Vickers? You have to remove this threaded booster assist cone on the front before you can withdraw the barrel. Really a bad downside because basically you have to recoil the whole machine gun back off of the firing line so that the gunner is not exposed to enemy fire. So it takes a little bit longer.